Hey everyone, Pooja Chilukuri here with Pooja Chilukuri Nutrition and Health, and also your host for the Wellness Education video series Be Made Whole. Today I'm very excited to have this conversation with Robin Thomas. Robin is a business and lifestyle coach and a community leader in holistic health and wellness. Robin worked for 25 years in medical research at UNC, both in infectious disease and inflammation, as well as chronic and autoimmune diseases. She started her own wellness business with USANA Health Sciences in 2004 and founded the Living Well Connections community in 2015 to support, educate, and empower us all to make healthy decisions towards a more balanced and fulfilling life. Robin helps her clients to stop feeling powerless and overwhelmed as she guides them through ways to get started with healthy habits that bring health, joy, and a renewed purpose for their whole life. Wow. Thank you for joining us today, Robin. I'm really
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. As long as I've known you, that's one of the things I love about what I do. I get to meet some very, very wonderful people with, their cool stories on how they got started on their wellness journey. I know that's not what you were always doing, right? So you switched from research to doing this wellness, building this community around wellness full time. Could you share with us a little bit about your journey and about yourself?
I'm happy to. Yes. Even though, and in a way, I was always into wellness because I was always into nature and being outside and enjoying. That's such a big part of wellness. But I did work for many years in medical research, which is sort of a little focused part. And I worked on brown lung disease that cotton mill workers get. I worked on sickle cell anemia. But the last bit of it, I worked a lot on inflammation and how people who have autoimmune diseases have basically their immune system is sort of wonky, and they're getting this chronic inflammation instead of having that acute, which we want when we meet a pathogen, we want our body to attack it, but we don't want to end up attacking ourselves. So I was doing that, and I also at the same time I have two sons. My husband and I have two sons, and one of them did develop autoimmune disease, of course. And we're studying it, and he developed it. He was a toddler with type 1 diabetes, and when you have an autoimmune disease, it often can lead to another and another. And so he did lead to Hashimoto's for the thyroid, and he also ended up with had some medications, and just in general ended up with leaky gut syndrome. So his gut was off, and that can be the cause of a lot of issues when you have the gut off. So I really was focused on wellness for him, and I also focused on, well, even though I keep one strong foot in science and I do believe in medicine, I think that it needs to be more of a holistic approach, and we need to have this combo, integrative. Sometimes people call it integrative medicine, but really looking at lifestyle and what we're doing every day and how it affects our overall health. And if you need a medication, sometimes you do, but I really like, it's empowering to be able to feel like I'm doing something that is really helping my health.
That's true because I know from experience as well. When I had to go through several rounds of medication and finally I felt so powerless, like nothing was working. So it really helped me to be able to research and try to feel some control over my life. And I just want to mention, Robin, because I remember how I felt. This was about 10 years ago, and I was trying to get started, and it was so overwhelming because the internet is full of answers, whether they're right or wrong answers, or but when you read about your symptoms, it can be very like create panic. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know who to trust. There's like all these things that have all this promise of cure or then you're reading research which is conflicting. So for all those who are watching or listening and they are trying to make this shift, where maybe up until now we haven't been paying attention to our lifestyle and to our habits, but now we want to change. How
Right.
should we talk to someone that's trying to just get started and it's very overwhelming? What do you do
It's
usually?
amazingly overwhelming, and I was really focused on my son at first and ignoring my own health, and my own health suffered because of that, because we were just going from drug trial to drug trial to drug trial, and just like waiting for the next greatest thing that was going to solve all his problems. Usually there's no magic bullet for anything. And I went online, and like you said, I saw it almost threw me into even more panic because of what I saw, especially at that time. This was 20 years ago. Online, it was very depressing to see what people were saying
Yes.
about conditions. It was very much hopeless
Yeah.
feeling. And I knew that there had to be something out there that would help. I fortunately found, as you had said, I started USANA 2006. Did I say? I'm trying to think.
I forget too because it's been a while, right?
2004,
2004.
actually, not 2006, 2004. And what that did, one of the things that did was bring me into a community of knowledgeable people and looking outside of the box. So looking at nutritional approaches and looking at other approaches. And I met someone there who I listened to his lectures. He was a functional neurologist, or he is a functional neurologist, and he's also a chiropractor. But his lectures on how things worked just made sense. So my big start was for my son, took him out to see a functional doctor. I didn't even think about doctors being functional doctors. I worked with doctors for 25 years, and they were all specialists. And
Yes.
functional doctors tend to look more of the root of the cause.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he immediately said, heal his gut. First thing to do is heal his gut. It's an individual approach, what's going to help every person. And what I love about what you do is you definitely do an individual approach, and you try to look for the root, the root cause of something.
Mm-hmm.
When we do that, instead of slapping on a Band-Aid drug, what I call,
Yeah.
I think like I said, I love integrative where both is working together,
Yeah.
but sometimes drugs are simply addressing symptoms.
Yes. And also what I'm hearing you say, Robin, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a good way to get started is to find a community that's already, I guess that can be our support system, right? Because sometimes when we don't know where to begin and others have walked that path, and and if you trust them, trust their experiences, and they're there to help you, guide you, then you found an expert in your community that knew what.
Absolutely. And that's why I started Living Well Connections, because of the frustration I had online. And then when I came back from the functional physician, and because he was in Minnesota, I couldn't keep taking my son from North Carolina and Minnesota for every appointment. I started looking for practitioners here, even if they just did one of the modalities he did. I was trying to fit it together. And I met wonderful people, found people that, I trust them. And I formed my community, Living Well Connections, first of all, just with little practitioners that I had met. But then we expanded. They knew people. We have a lot of practitioners, but it's not a practitioner-only community. It's for people who are just looking and searching and wanting to learn more and find a better way for themselves.
That's right. And that's how when I found you and I joined Living Well Connections, and I was so inspired. I've been doing my own work, trying to work with my health and those that I help for about 8 years now. And this community thing is really, really working out because we can support each other, help each other. There's a lot to learn. And the practitioners, that once you get to know them, what they do, like, you build that trust, that relationship. It's a whole lot easier than trying to find answers, like I was doing, trying to read, and trying to figure out the best path.
We can't all be experts in everything. And
No,
I know
no,
I'm not an expert in
that's
everything,
that's
absolutely
right.
far. And I may not even be an expert in one thing,
No,
but I have experience. I have
yes,
experience both
yes,
from the work I did in the past and from just life work with my son and taking care of myself too, because like I said, in healing my son and helping heal my son, I helped him change lifestyle choices and I changed along with him. And these weren't anything I jumped in with 2 feet and did everything at once. We did this gradually.
yes,
We gradually, and that's the wonderful thing about it. I love change. I love helping people change habits, because
yeah,
once you have it as a habit, it's like you see me here constantly sipping water.
yeah. That's
That's a habit I have. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not thinking, oh, I need to drink more water today. Oh, it's just a habit. When I have it at my desk, I just take a sip every once in a while. And that can help immensely.
yeah.
Just that simple change. And once you have that as a habit, what I like to do is help people sort of stack habits onto each other. It's like I hope everyone here listening brushes their teeth. That is a habit most of us learned as a young child. You have to brush your teeth. And an example of stacking habits is adding a habit to the toothbrushing,
Mhm.
so, and making it easy.
I love that, Robin. I love that because making a lifestyle change, no matter how small, it can be very intimidating, especially when you're starting out and you're not used to doing things a certain way, right? We
Right,
talk,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
can you just give us one or two things that are like baby steps that if somebody is just starting,
If you're
what?
just starting, the best thing to do is to become aware of what you're doing now. And honestly, the very best way I know to do this is to have a little journal. To have, it doesn't have to be a lot, it doesn't have to be extensive, but in particular, what you're eating, people don't realize that. They've done surveys with people of, oh yeah, I eat healthy. They declare they're eating very, very healthy. And if you look back on exactly what they're eating, things slip in. Now that's natural. That's That
Mhm.
happens to me too. In fact, chocolate cake slipped in this weekend.
Yeah.
But it's okay, and then you forgive yourself and move on. You just want to be aware. So you want to find out like what may be a trigger, what's triggering a bad habit, or I don't even want to call it a bad habit, but what's triggering something that may be not enhancing your health. And
Mhm.
you're only going to find this out by writing it down, and then write down how you feel. And this is the way I can find out foods that actually I may not have any direct reaction to them, but I can tell later, oh my goodness, all I wanted to do after I ate that meal was have a nap.
Yes, that's exactly.
It's these little things like that. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And when you become aware of it, then you can decide, you can see a pattern emerging and you can say, okay, well, I want to work on this one simple thing. I
Mhm.
wouldn't, very few people, there are a small percentage of people who maybe have a crisis happening. Maybe they get a diagnosis that scares them. Then they jump in with 2 feet and everything at once. That's very rare that works out. I like to have a sustainable habit.
Mhm. So have a journal, be aware of the changes you want to make. I'm just
Hmm.
repeating because I just want to make sure I understand. And then you just sort of be aware about why you're doing it, how you feel after you do it. And I think
Right.
that's a great way to start, Robin, because I can't remember this guy. He was, it's a TED Talk, Justin, I can't remember his last name. And he was talking about mindfulness, and he actually talked about the chocolate cake where he said they would have the people stop and think, how am I actually going to feel after I eat it? or a person that was smoking, they're like, stop and think, how does
Hmm.
this taste? How does this smell? And they were like, oh, it's stinky. Why am I doing
Yeah.
this? So yes, I think
And the emotions that are going along with it.
right, right,
What kind of emotions? Jot those emotions down because you may not think of it later,
right.
as they're happening.
And
Um,
do you have another, like, so doing a journal would be great. Is there a favorite, uh, or from your experience, was there a habit change you made at the beginning that worked
a
for you?
favorite one to change?
Or something that works for you?
I'm guided by, I have a conversation with someone and the very first thing I'm guided is what's on their forefront of their mind.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, that's the very first. If they have nothing on
Yeah.
the forefront of their mind, um, I really think water is a very good one
To
to
start.
change. I've
Yes.
talked to so many people who are really hooked on sodas and diet sodas,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just going from one to the other, and they don't think
Yes.
they can stop. And I've helped them stop that. But another one which is interesting is sometimes we have, because of our eating habits, and it could be prescribed, especially if we have some digestive issues and we've been prescribed specific eating habits and we have to eliminate things. My son has to eliminate grains, and so he's
Mm-hmm.
missing out on some nutrition by eliminate grains.
Yeah.
But when he has grains, he has a seizure. So it's like, okay, you got to weigh what
Yes.
works.
What works?
And some people are eliminating food groups because they want to. Vegans, they don't want to eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
Or paleo, they're eliminating some other things. So I actually would suggest taking a look at a supplement. And if you do, you have to be careful because there are a lot out there. Again, this is back to that overwhelmed, confusing. What do we believe?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes.
But I did discover one that I really like that I know has good synergy,
Mm-hmm.
good balance.
Yeah.
And honestly, for myself, I can't say that was exactly the first thing my son needed because what he needed to do was heal his gut. But it's what I needed in my body. So I went from really into a pre-fibromyalgia kind of, and a lot of it I was ignoring myself. I was the caregiver and I was ignoring myself.
Bring yourself. Yeah.
But I started on a very, very high quality multivitamin, and
Yes.
that gave me the energy to say, hey, okay, I have some energy. Maybe I could cook a better dinner. or I have the energy to get out and walk. I have the energy to get out and exercise. When I was feeling so bad, I did not have the energy to even think about those things.
Yes. And I'm so, so glad you mentioned supplements because I get asked all the time. Because when people are first starting out, it's very like they're reading, right? And they're researching and they're finding out what this is good for this and this is good for that. And what brand do I trust? And I know you have a lot of knowledge and experience with supplements, Robin. And you're certainly one of the people that I trust, when it
I'm
comes to
glad.
that. So, and we share knowledge and information, right?
Yeah,
I do work with supplements as well, but it is so important. The quality is so important because this is something we're putting in our bodies every day.
mhm.
And we're trying to solve a situation. We don't want to add more problems to us.
Exactly. We don't. And one of the things that people tend to do, and you mentioned this at the beginning, people tend to they get on the internet and they see one ingredient and that's a trend, it's trending that this particular ingredient is going to solve all your problems. Like I said, there's no magic bullet.
There isn't.
And you walk into Whole Foods or you walk into other health food stores or pharmacies and you see aisle after aisle of different supplements. It is so confusing.
Yes, it is.
And
It
then
really
getting the
is.
balance. You've talked about this also in the past about how you need to have our bodies. love to be in balance. You know, our immune system wants to be in balance.
Mhm.
You know, the rest of our body really wants to be healthy. You know,
Yes,
has this desire, but it needs to have the right ingredients in the right ratios
yes,
to work. And
absolutely.
when you get too much of one thing, I mean, vitamin A is one, you know,
Yes.
people, oh, vitamin A, vitamin A, vitamin A, and then you get too much of it, it tips the
Toxic.
balance from being
Yeah.
helpful to being, you know, it could be
Hmm.
a problem.
And it's
So
the same
that's,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, with vitamin D too. It's the same
yeah,
thing.
vitamin D, and you want to monitor vitamin D. You want to go get your vitamin D level tested so you know you're in a good range. You
Yeah.
don't want to just take half the bottle.
Yes.
There's an awful lot of supplements like that. And herbs is another thing. Herbal remedies can be great, but you want the knowledge and you don't
Yes.
want to just suddenly,
No. Herbs are just as powerful, can be as potent as medicines, so we can't
yeah,
take it lightly. And also, Robin, I'm a big believer of quality, like who's accountable, who's watching what's going into it. So the company has to be trusted, has to have good
right.
quality control, very transparent, scientific studies, so all of those things would be good to look for if you're listening and watching. Look for a third party certification, look for something that gives you some sort of, you know, uh, guarantee. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but some sort of
Well, you want to,
accountability.
I have, you know, certain things you want to look for. You want to make sure that it's been verified by independent laboratories, not just the company that's selling it.
Yeah.
I mean, you want the company that's selling it to be honest and upfront and transparent, but it also helps to have the fact that they send their products to other independent laboratories who are
Hmm.
testing for these things too. They want to test for purity. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to have contamination.
Yeah.
Um, even, you know, even drug companies, they really, you don't want to have contamination. You
Yeah.
don't want to have the wrong herb. You know, sometimes things are sold on the wholesale part of it. The herbs are sold wholesale,
Hmm.
and they're not actually the herb that the company thinks they are. You want to make sure they're tested to make sure they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You want them manufactured in the right way. You want to make sure that it's good after you know, the raw ingredients are
Yeah.
pure, but also after the manufacturing, it's pure,
Yeah.
and the concentrations are exactly what they say.
Yes.
And I think I read your little book about supplements, and and absolutely get Pooja's book.
Oh,
Um,
yes. It's a free
but
download.
yes, USP, NSF, and ConsumerLab.com
Yeah.
are three independent labs that do this kind of testing. So um, it's pretty easy nowadays to research and see if the company what you want to buy from, if they have this independent testing. And that would be something I definitely would do when
Yes.
I'm looking at some. Yeah,
It's a good place to start, Robin.
yeah, it
Because
is
when
a
we're
good
first
place.
starting, there's just a lot to do and learn. So, I'm just gonna, so we talked about the journal, the awareness,
Hmm.
talked about drinking water. We talked about if we haven't been doing it already, maybe a good multivitamin, a good
Hmm.
course. So definitely. And I know you like, do the whole stacking thing. So whatever changes, whatever pace is comfortable, we can make changes at
Absolutely. You want to
time.
have the habit is and the supplements. I mean, to me that's a habit too.
Yes.
But you know, all kinds of habits. There could be the habit of getting up and taking a walk around the block in the morning before you start your day, you know, before you really start your work
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Or you know, there could be any kind of habits can be all the way up to your own imagination,
Mhm.
as far as, and then I love to help guide people, and you like to help guide people on, okay, what might be a good thing to start with.
Yes.
And yeah, and I wrote an ebook that talks about how to do it. There's a number, five different tips
But
on
that's,
how you can do it. Yeah.
we would love to, can we share that? Would you be, can we
I'd
share
be
that?
happy to share that. I'm happy to
Awesome.
share that. And it also includes an invitation to join the Living Well Connections community.
And just so that everybody that's listening or watching, that is free. The book is free and joining the community is free.
Mhm.
And I'm always telling Robin, it doesn't matter, you could be part of my community, her community, another 100 communities that are doing wellness, because sometimes we need to hear the same information a lot of times and from different people, because it's going to hit
Absolutely.
us in different ways. And that's all a part of conditioning ourselves towards a more well life, right? Robin,
Right. It's who you surround yourself with. And what I love about your community and mine, it's very supportive. There's
very,
nobody going to be there, no, 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 don't do this. None of that. I don't allow that at mine, and I know Pooja doesn't allow that in hers. It's very supportive, very kind, um, education, some information, but then sometimes just to know that somebody out there is working on the same kind of things you are.
yes, absolutely. And on that note, Robin, I could talk to you forever. Really, I could. And I just realized, okay, we have to stop. I know
Yes.
I've been told that attention span online these days is decreasing because everybody's fatigued. So I'm gonna have to ask you for the very last thing that I always ask everybody is to give us maybe a challenge for this week, or maybe I know we've talked about several things. So if you just reinforce maybe one thing that you want us to do this week.
I really want everyone to practice self-care and journal about it. So
Mm,
I want you to actually make the decision that I'm going to write down what I'm eating. I'm going to write down what I'm doing through the day, kind of a little calendar thing. You could do it in your calendar, but I also want you to say, how are you feeling when this is happening?
mm,
3 days. Do it for 3 days. And then talk to Pooja. Take this to her. This is going to help Pooja work with you and help you. You can take it to me if you want.
yeah,
Uh, all we don't, like I said, we don't fuss at you. We just, like, it's just an awareness. It's just a self-awareness. I'd
yeah.
love for you to do that.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you very, very much. I have really enjoyed speaking with you. And I'm going to be sharing all of Robin's information, the Living Well Connections community. But if somebody just wanted to reach out to you, do you have an email or website? What's the best way for
My email is my name, which just makes it easy. It's Robin at Robin Thomas, and it's .biz, B-I-Z. I lost the .com. So robinthomas.biz is my website, and robin at robinthomas.biz is my email. So feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to we could have an introductory chat, just to meet, just to
Yes,
make a friend.
absolutely, Robin. And I will be sharing all of that information. Robin, thank you so much for joining us today and speaking with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And I am going to just say bye right now. Until next time, be well.
Bye.